Aloha and welcome to this week's video. So this week I'm actually working on quite a few projects at once, but I'm only going to be recording one of them just because of time constraints. So the piece that I'm going to be showing you this week is a Hawaiian knuckle duster. I've made one of these before. I've actually made quite a few in the past. This one's going to be a little bit more of a generic style, just a simple knuckle duster. Now the difference between the Hawaiian version and one that you might see in like World War II or other modern versions is the Hawaiian piece is actually designed more for cutting and less for blunt force. So in a modern knuckle duster, it'd be used more for blunt force. You'd punch. Obviously, you can still punch with it, but the outer edge is going to have shark teeth. I'm going to be using bull shark teeth, and that will effectively make a cutting edge that can be used for slashing. To hollow out the inside of it, I'm using a whole bunch of larger and smaller bits, and then I'm just going to be using this rasp to bring it down. There is probably a few better ways of doing this, but I don't have the tools for that. So a scroll saw would be one of them. Again, I don't have those tools, but that's okay because the rasp and some sanding will be just good enough for what I need. And then I'll be rough shaping it out and then sanding the entire piece down to 320, cutting in the groove and putting in the teeth. Now before I get to the groove, I do want to sand the whole piece down. I'm going to sand it down actually all the way to 320. So usually on different pieces, I'll sand it down to 220, and then once I've put the teeth in, then I'll sand down to 320. The reason why I'm doing the 320 on this one from the start is just so that it's a little bit more finished when I go to put the teeth in, because there'll be less area for me to hold on to. It makes it a little bit harder once those teeth are along the outer edges. There is a lot of hand sanding that I have to do on this piece, just because getting into that inner edge there along the handle portion and on the outer edge of the blade portion, I can't reach that with my disc sander, and so I'm really only able to disc sand the outer edges and the outside edges, and then I have to hand sand everything in between. But that's okay. Sometimes you just have a lot of hand sanding. Now, what I was doing here, I was just checking that center ridge, making sure it was nice and clean. Now, my Dremel attachment here was kind of worn down, and so the bit was spinning out. And so it took quite a while to cut this groove into place. Finally got it. I ended up buying a new attachment piece for that would hold on to those bits a little bit better. But I was able to get this one cut in and taken care of. Now that I have that groove cut in, I can go ahead and cut in the lanyard hole. So this is where the lanyard is going to tie into, and then I can finish sanding it back up to 320, and then I can go ahead and put the teeth into place. The teeth I'm going to be using for this specific piece are bull shark teeth. Tiger shark teeth would probably be a little bit more traditional, just because tiger sharks, reef sharks, those are the type of sharks that you would find in Hawaii the most. But I do like using the bull shark teeth for this style of piece. I just think it looks really nice, and the bull sharks actually are really good cutters, and so I have a feeling when I go to test with it, it'll test really well. So once I put the teeth into place, or rather I use epoxy and I let them sit overnight, now I can come back the next day and cut in the holes for the lashing, as well as cutting in the holes into the teeth. My youngest daughter there is just kind of having fun sitting with me. She was wanting to help where she can, but she's still a little bit young, so there's not much she can help with other than having fun on the camera. So I went ahead and I punched in a couple guide holes first, and then I drill those in with the drill. I do that so that it's easier to keep those holes straight. And then I use a tungsten carbide bit to punch in the holes into the teeth. I try to cut the holes in the teeth at the base of the teeth, or the root, and not the upper section where the enamel is. It makes for a better connection, and by not damaging that enamel, I don't risk damaging the teeth. But now that I have the piece entirely sanded down, I can go ahead and start oiling it. Now, I was really excited to oil this piece, not because it had a heavy curl, but because it had some really, really pretty figure and some spalting. So spalting, for those of you that don't know, is just like those dark lines that go through wood occasionally. It's caused by fungus that grows in the tree. But this piece had just some beautiful character to it. This was really dark koa, and I was really happy with the way that was looking. So I let that sit overnight just so I can give the tongue oil time to set. And then now I'm back at it the next day, and I'm going to be lashing in the teeth and wrist strap. I'm doing a basic lash on the teeth. It'll create kind of like a triangle pattern that goes along the ridge line where the teeth connect to the coal wood. And then once I have the teeth lashed into place, I can go ahead and lash in the wrist strap. I'm not going to be putting any decorative feathers on this piece. I'm going to be keeping it fairly simple. Most of the time I'll put feathers on a piece. On this one though, just because the wood itself felt more rugged, I was kind of wanting just a little bit more of a simple lashing. And so I have my lanyard strap here built, and now I'm going to go ahead and just lash it together. I am going to try to make sure that it's a good dimension. You don't want it to be too long, too short, and so you kind of have to just kind of put it around your hand, make sure it feels right. And then I just lash that lanyard strap end together. And then once it's fully lashed together, I'm going to fire the very end of it. And so that should close that section off, make sure it doesn't come loose. And then from here, I can go ahead and finish lashing up the wrist strap, making sure everything is tight. It's not going to come loose. And at this point, I am largely finished with the piece. I still have one more coating to put on it. But I'll be doing that off camera, just a simple clear coat that I put on the piece at the end, and that just helps lock everything into place. So here is the finished piece, and man, does it look awesome. I love the way that it looks. The figure and grain of the dark koa wood just looked absolutely beautiful. The bull shark teeth, they're large bull sharks, and they just are awesome. So I was really excited to test with this piece, and I will be testing with it. For the testing, I decided just to do a series of different cuts and slashes, a couple punches, and then just kind of inspect the damage at the end. And it kind of worked exactly as I expected to. The tiger shark teeth and bull shark teeth, it's like a saw. And so you do have to give it some effort. If you're just kind of lightly glancing, it doesn't quite cut. But if you give it any type of motion, it just cuts right in. And you can really see that here. Some really deep cuts on the corners. And then those slashes cut in a good 3/4 of an inch all the way through. A good inch and a half deep cut on the corners. So just a really powerful piece. Definitely would be terrifying to come against if someone's slicing at that on any soft targets. So your neck, your sides, your arms. A very powerful close range weapon. This was a ton of fun. I heavily enjoyed it. If you liked the video, go ahead and leave a like and comment and subscribe. If you have any suggestions, go ahead and leave it in the comments. I do sometimes base some of my future pieces off of suggestions when I can. It's a ton of fun. But mahalo plenty for everyone that watches, and I'll see you next time. Aloha.